individual leg straps. He's turning. So he's basically got 1, 2, 3 points of attachment to his body. He's got a center anchor point that's float. So he'll literally rig into this position that'll hold his body upright. And the climbing system he's going to tie for it. It allows him to move upwards, move down. He can also move laterally so he can get into different positions to work. Imagine if he was attached here. Well, I'm saying if we had this rope here, how would he maneuver himself in the tree? You'd almost need another person pulling you in, letting you down. Now you've got the fear of another person making a mistake. So here he's going to have all the control of this climbing system right here. These parts right here are for work positioning. Okay, there's an anchor point for climbing. These points on the side are for work positioning. You wouldn't clip into these to climb up. And all of these are rated to 5,000. All the components on there. This is a version of a work positioning lanyard. So when it gets to where he's going, he can go around the tree. This one here is just got another prusik tie. Pull on it, so if I pull on this there, it won't move. If he just breaks that hitch a little bit, he lets himself out. And this is not life support. All that does is it's a fair leading or tending pulley. It pushes the knot up for him, so he can now adjust it one hand. Yes. Yep. And that's not mandatory, but he likes it because that'll stay in one place when it's against the tree and the rope will. So his hardware asphalt. All your connecting links have to be rated as well. They need to be 22.2, 40 milliamp, 385, 5,000 pounds or higher. Does anyone know what a kilonewton is? 2,000 newtons. 1,000 newtons. It's a measurement of force, right? Okay. So when you read on there, it says 23 kN. It's 200. 1 kilonewton is measurement for 1 kilonewton is 224.8 pounds of force.
The barrel's going this way, and it doesn't need designed to be loaded. Whatever barrel's going to be loaded, barrels and
so multiply 224.8 by 7. How many is it? 27? It's over 6,000 pounds break. 23 or higher is over 5,000. 22 is 49 something. And we're kind of splitting hairs. So if it says 23 kN, they're good to go.
What do you recommend for the footwear?
Footwear?
Yeah.
Climbers, we hate steel toes because we're getting, look at the crotches, you know, I don't mean that bad way, but look at the branch unions. Try to shove a boot in there and not get it stuck or twist an ankle. So climbers in P&J, they don't require steel toes for climbers. But what are you when you're on the ground? Now you need them, so most everybody's wearing those. These are specific for climbing. They're a stretch military type fabric. They're made specifically for climbing. They've got Teflon coated molecules so the dirt doesn't stick. Other than the smell, you guys wouldn't know I've been wearing these 5 days straight. Pretty clean, huh? I've got a pair that looks identical to this that does have built-in chainsaw protection. So the only way you're going to know if it's chainsaw or not is to go up and feel the thickness of the bat. They'll either be warp knit nylon, which most of them are, just a series of really long strands of nylon yarn, or a combination of them. I find these, even though they're dark, I find these cooler than jeans, especially if I have to wear chaps over them. He has on just a lighter weight, it's called Tech material. It's made by a company called Arboriculture, not that I'm here as a spokesperson, but they make these pants specifically for climbing. For lack of a better way, the crotch area is wider, allows better leg movement, and they beefed up and gusseted knee areas where the climbers will be climbing. Good questions, thank you. Other questions on Vanna White here? Okay, something I want to point out to you guys. What do you notice about his hard hat that's different than my hard hat? than it. This is still a Class C hard hat, this is a far better helmet for climbing and doing work aerially than what I'm wearing. He's got 4-point suspension. He could get knocked around and it's going to stay on. If you pop me in the head, what's going to happen to my hard hat? It's going to hit the guy on the ground, right? This is actually a climbing style helmet, and I prefer this. However, what's wrong with this helmet versus mine? You can add a brim. He's got holes. This is not Class E. Slow speed. That's a good tip for you when you're out there. If you see climbers, you will. I found 2 yesterday. They're wearing this style of hard hat with holes in it. It's not going to be Class E. Class E is dielectrically rated. It doesn't allow that arc flash to go from the power line through me and around the source. So now he's got holes in here. He's got no ignition. Any other questions on that? Yes, sir. Absolutely. When we use a chainsaw, it's Army Corps 8 EM385 standard. You have to use a face shield. Is it okay if I'm frank? For climbers having a face shield, it's a real issue because when it's not in use, it's up like this, and we're hanging it on things, getting our helmet flipped off. Even when it's down, we're moving around. It's not that it obstructs vision as much as it's just cumbersome already. We've already got enough going on. It's the same with them having to wear clip-on chaps. Imagine that he's got his chaps on underneath his harness. We've got a heat issue, but now we've got all these straps and buckles and additional things to tangle, get caught up. Plus, you've limited his mobility. Yeah, I mean, he's the Michelin man. I mean, okay, now I'm ready. What do you want? You want me to do? What? Climb now? Yeah. So, yeah, my suggestion would be, I have no argument with this shield on the ground. Here's the problem I have with this or that. This or that. So I say this or that. This or that is he's going to be doing this, and then in 2 minutes he's going to be doing that. So maybe it's better that we all have shields for that. You know what I'm saying? These are not. I have a pair that's identical to these visually, except they have chainsaw blades. So if I knew I was doing a big removal today, I might wear these pants for that. Yeah, they are chainsaw blades. All right. Everything he's got with him, he'll take with him. Like I said, a lot of climbers prefer to take the chainsaw with them. He's got a lanyard, 200 chainsaw. The thing about it is the way the standard is written, you've got to climb up there to pull the saw. But on some of these lanyard framers, you might climb up 8 feet, cut branches, 10 feet, 7 feet, 9 feet, you know what I'm saying? And we can use the tool on the way up.
The climbers are up there a lot over there.
Yeah, some do. They'll wear the camelbacks.
Built-in, comes from the factory, attachment point. This I did myself. Put attachment to my harness. So the breakaway lanyard design to breakaway. This falls below my feet.
You got caught in wood, and I'm a piece of wood. It'll lunge you out and hit the breakaway. So you'll be buying a new saw, but you won't be needing a spine, titanium rod. Climbers that don't have Using the system setup.
I'm okay up on the top.
You need to gain I'll go ahead and move in a little bit closer where you can see. Probably right in this area here. This is a fairly traditional, this is called closed system. If he unties this, what you'll see is his rope goes up and over and attaches. So go ahead and untie it and I'll show him. It's one piece of rope. He's able to tie what's known as a friction hitch or a climbing hitch. It goes up and over and attaches to his climbing harness. He'll leave himself a little extra. You see how he's left some extra? It's still one piece of rope. He will then tie what's pretty traditional. He doesn't climb in on it in real life, but the old school, it's known as a taut line hitch. So it's 2 round turns underneath the bridge, and he'll go up and do 2 round turns.
Okay, the taut line hitch is known as a rolling hitch. Right? Whenever you tie this hitch, you need to tie a stopper knot after it. Okay? What do I mean by a rolling hitch? Watch as I sit in this and watch the hitch roll. See how my this bridge part lengthened? That's why you need to tie a stopper knot. As I go up and down and work the tree, my bridge is going to get longer and longer. People have fallen out of the tree, their hitches come untied because they didn't have a stopper knot in there. So it's extremely important to tie the stopper knot with this type of system.
If they're using a taut line hitch, they need to have a stopper. So Norm, show them how you can walk back and let yourself down.
We're walking or going down, descending. I can just pull on the hitch.
Go,
As soon as I let go,
hold them into position.
see how the hitch just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling. Pretty soon it's going to be end up right here.
And then he can work his way or work up the tree or back in the tree by taking up the slack and sliding the hitch up. You see how we're work positioning as opposed to fall restraint, fall rest, fall protection. So when he gets to a situation where he's going to work on a section of tree, he'll take the slack out and then he'll throw in a work positioning lanyard. So not only is he standing in the tree, he's tied in for the points, and then he's also going to have his lanyard. So if you cut this is a backup. You cut this is a backup. So anytime they're using a chainsaw on a tree, they've got to be set up with a minimum of this. Any questions on that? Some other hitches you might see. You have.
This is
Want to show them a Blake's maybe?
taut line hitch. These kind of look very similar, but they're different hitches.
They're tied differently. And
See
they
how
work a
this
little bit
one, this link is anchored to the rope, so the link won't tumble. It's known as a cinching hitch. This is what you want if they're using this type of link, a carabiner. You commonly see this, a stationary bowline tied to this type of link. So if this tumbles, that can happen.
You guys understand? He's tied a fisherman's bend here so that it cinches down. Here a climber is tied a bowline, which is not as good a setup because it can side load. This carabiner's rated at what, 25 kilonewtons this way and 7 or 8 sideways. So it wouldn't take much of a 7 sideways. It wouldn't take much of a fall to break that carabiner. Also, when we work, we don't allow a lot of slack. When we're moving in the tree, we're always keeping the slack tight in our line so we don't allow ourselves to fall any distance at all. There might be a slip or a swing, but there's not going to be like a fall of any height. Not like a factor 1 or factor 2 fall for those of you that are into the fall testing stuff.
This is not so much a rolling hitch, but it still requires a stopper knot. This one I tied a figure 8 knot in the end. So you can see the difference. This is just a simple overhand now how we start to tie our shoes. Either one's acceptable. This is preferable. Same mechanics.
Now,
Press on it.
if I was to follow a fall arrest standard, where would I tie in? How would I work the tree? Where would my saw go? My first aid kit? Where do I use my lanyard? Right? So, for what we do, this is a much more, it's much safer for what we do. So, any questions on this equipment here? How do we get the rope up there? We throw it. He doesn't have one out here, but we'll have a bag that's got shot in it, like bird shot, and we'll use a very, very thin line, anywhere from 1.75 mil to 2.2 mil. And with practice, we're able to throw a line with some accuracy 100 feet. So sometimes we can throw so high that we need binoculars to check to see if our anchor point is rated. So looking at this anchor point here, he's around the main stem and a branch. You think that would hold your weight? But as you get the higher up you get, that's where being an arborist comes into play, because certain species of trees are much stronger than other species. Some have structure and biology that makes them weaker to tie into. So does anybody know what species of tree this is? Where I'm from, we call it a winged elm. Winged elm. So, what is this one here? It's an oak. They're both very, very strong trees. Can anyone name a weak-wooded tree? What? Cottonwood, willow, right? Some species of pine. So we might tie in as an anchor point in an oak tree to a branch that big around. Do that in a cottonwood and you become what's known as a tree diver. It's a lot like skydiving, but without the parachute. Okay? So knowing your species, poplars are one where you probably wouldn't tie into, you probably something like that. So knowing the species, set up our anchor point. Here's the throw line. Different weight shots. So I threw the other day, how high? 85, 90 feet. We had a tree that had to be pulled over, so it's a great tool. But typically what you'll find with the crews is they're throwing climbing spikes on, and they'll throw a lanyard around, and they'll start spiking up the tree with just a body belt or a lanyard around. So the problem that you run into is as Norm climbs up and he comes to these branches, what do you think he has to do at that point? He needs to have another rope to go up and above and around and clip in before he lets go of the first one. So that's something you guys could catch out there if anyone's, there's no free climbing, okay? That would mean at any time he's in this tree is he not attached with a lanyard or a climbing rope. Either one is acceptable. They have to be in the tree, they have to have a climbing line with them. Why do you think that is? Even if they're not using it, why does they have to have it? Guess. Something, he's got a way to get to the ground, right? Or if there's a rescue situation, something like that. So. Questions?
Well, I have to assume that because you're around this one tree, because I've got branches, it's easy to throw. But look at the one next to you.
Yep.
That ain't got much to throw on.
Yeah.
So now what are you doing?
Use the string.
So you're going to use that to try to get up to good Lord. Okay.
You guys want to see this? See it done?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking. I mean, that thing goes up there for a while.
So, this is where it gets really incredibly dangerous, because there's only two people wearing hard hats.
Yeah. Don't take out the camera.
This is not just string you buy at a hardware store. This is string that made for this type of application. It's 2.2 millimeter. It's made of a fiber called Dynamo. Extremely strong. That rope is rated plus trees rated at 600 pounds.
Wow.
So we can even pull small trees over here. The first thing I do is look for windshields. Anyone own that blue car?
It's a rental.
They're all rentals somewhere. So first thing I do is I look to see where I want it to go. I have my line in front of me. Make sure my area is clear. Everyone's being clear.
Clear, all clear.
I got an all clear from my crew. So I pick the target out up there and kind of like that big one in the middle.
Wow.
So being a typical pine tree, a rough target one.
How about that endangered ball we don't have up there? Oh, yeah.
That hitch, he can climb up the tree. So, and that's a way to climb the tree without using spikes. Situation, and the way to get the job done most efficiently, it seems to be they'll do it with a bucket, which is great, or they'll climb with spikes. So, do that. What do you want to show them over here, Norm?
These are all arborist approved connecting links, every one of these. To be an arborist approved, it has to have these type of snaps. You can't just press, this is known as the gate.
So it's a double lock.
You can't just press on the gate to open the snap. There's a locking mechanism in the back. You have to depress the mechanism before you can open the gate. And these are all the same, they're just different anodized. This is not anodized, anodized blue, anodized red. Identical snaps. They just have different colors. This is another manufacturer. Same thing, you depress the gate before you open the gate. Depress the safety latch before you open the gate. You just can't open the gate. The reason for that is some of these set harnesses are designed
Roll out.
right, rollout, or rollout can happen. Well, those are the snaps. The snaps can be tied on with the stationary bowline method because they have the captive eye. Whereas these carabiners have no captive eye, they have to be tied on with the cinching hitch so the carabiner can't tumble in the hitch or in the knot. This is a non-approved arborist connecting link. This is a screw latch gate. This is non-approved for life support. Any screw type link is a non-life support link. You can pass these around and check them out if you want. These links used to be very, very common. This is a Zytel or a plastic gate. And if you just check this out, it appears to be in fine working order. But you have to come up close. If I depress on the gate, right in here, you'll see a fracture. See that? And once I release it, you can't see it. So if you come upon links like this, do that. See if it exposes any fractures. You have to depress this green ball and twist 45 degrees before you open the gate. Life support carabiners, you need two separate motions before opening the gate. This is just a single action, non-life support. Another single action twist gate. Just twist 90, open the gate, non-life support.
But it's hard to tell from 15 feet. So
How'd you like
we
to be
physically
climbing?
go up
How'd
and
you
check.
like to be suspended from that? This is another single action steel. And if you open it all the way, it'll stick open. It'll stay there. So there's several things to check. This is a steel connecting link. Here it has a notch cut in the gate. So you have to pull down and twist 90 before opening the gate. This is approved for life support. Might as well check these out since you know you're coming upon these things, I think. This is non-life support. Single twist before opening the gate. This is a new carabiner on the market. Instead of pulling down, you pull up.
Well, I could still roll off that.
Oh yeah, you can roll out very easy with that. The notch is just in a different spot. Also check the ratings. Make sure it's at 23 or greater. Notch and the rating. This has 3 ratings, so you have to pull down, twist 90 before opening the gate. Older carabiner design where the screw link goes up instead of down, closing the gate. It closes the hinge. We might come upon these as well. This is non-life support rated.
When you say life support,
Climbing, supporting a life.
okay. Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
This has no notch, but it has an internal mechanism where you can't just twist and open it. You have to push up the gate before you can twist it and open it. So this is acceptable for life support. This is probably the most common snap you'll see. Very, very common, very popular steel snap. You can't just depress the gate to open it. There's a locking mechanism in the back. Depress, open the gate. So it has to be automatic locks, self-closing, automatic locking. So it self-closes, automatic locks. I've seen some of the climbers using this type of link. This is an ascender. And this one is not wrench tight. But these, according to the ANSI standard, should be wrench tight, but you can see the notches cut in there. When you put the pin in, you can feel it click into place and it won't back out.
Oh, yeah.
So as long as it's wrenched tight, that's an acceptable life support link. You want to get into I-9?
You just tie one and then we'll run low on time. So another, he's going to show another form of climbing system. Remember we talked about this one's a closed system because it's one rope that went up and over, so it's all tied together. The only way he can get out of this or off that branch is he has to untie it. He's now going to do what's called a split tail or an open system, where he's going to take a separate piece of rope to tie his climbing hitch with, and he'll show you in a second what we mean by open system.
Okay, in an open system, this is usually tied at the very end. So I take that and clip in to my ring. And I take this prusik cord and I'll tie a series of loops. And then come down, tie a series of braids. And I'll clip in with a separate link. So Works on the same principle. But then when I have to tie in, I don't have to untie or re-anchor or advance my climbing system. I don't have to untie the whole system. I can lanyard in. Check my lanyard to make sure it'll support my body weight. And I can take this link totally off, advance my rope to a different tie-in spot, clip in, and I'm ready to go. So this is a much quicker system. It's a little bit more advanced, but more than likely you're going to be seeing this as your
With
common.
the open system, he can go to the sides and turn this into a 150-foot lanyard. You know, so he can move it down and use it to the side D's if he's using spikes to climb the tree. He'll have a second form and help him pass over those branches. So. Good? Questions on this? Is it helpful? Who remembers the one thing to make your day worthwhile? Anybody remember? You had two. Remember what they were?
Right questions to ask?
Yeah, the right questions. Are you getting some of that now?
All Texas
And what good looked like?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you get help there? Jerry, you had one too, right? Is this helping you?
Yep, there you go. I'm just looking in that big old pulp here for your idea. And that's you're not throwing any bag over that way.
Which one?
This one right
Is that good? Is everybody cool? Any questions on chainsaw before I even start? Does anybody know what the safety features of the chainsaw is? Especially a commercial grade, newer model. Chain brake. So everybody knows the chain brake. It's called an inertia chain brake. Okay? It can be put on manually. And what is really cool about the way they've designed these saws ergonomically and smartly, that this chain brake can be installed with the wrist roll. I never have to take my hands off the saw. I can disengage it. But what inertia chain brake is there's a counterweight in here that if I get that sudden violent kickback, that counterweight gets thrown, and if it's in good working order, even though I may eat some chainsaw, it won't be spinning chain. It's still going to cut me possibly, but not to the Norm and I have seen people that have cut through the bill of their hard hat into their faces and shoulders. So inertia chain brake. Okay. What other safety features do these saws have? That should be in working order on the job site.
So your blade adjustment, that right?
Okay, so that's a maintenance issue, so make sure that's correct.
I see a lot of them are really loose. They stop sawing. You see a lot of daylight below the
Yeah,
bar.
shouldn't see daylight below the bar. So you have inertia chain brake. You should have a spark arrestor in the muffler, especially if you're working for the U.S. Forest Service, which I have on multiple occasions. And this one will get you in trouble, especially if you set the Smoky Mountains on fire. Okay. Also, they're supposed to be equipped with a chain catch. You see that? It's a $2 item. Chances are really good. Half the saws you will run into out there doesn't have that on there. Because if the chain, because they let it run too loose, comes off, the chain comes off the bar, it catches into this, which wraps it up a little bit, okay, and slows it down.
What do you call that thing?
Chain catch. So inertia chain brake, spark arrestor, chain catch. Of all the things OSHA knows about chainsaws, they know that's supposed to be there, and that's about it. Guess what? State of Maryland, $750 fine. First time they find it not on there. So I let them know. Well, it costs $2 now or $750 later. Also, if you run a really long bar chain, right, a long bar saw, and that chain comes off, the catch will catch it, but you still run the risk of chain coming all the way back, hitting you in the leg or hitting you in the hand. So that's why we recommend, those aren't done. He's got them on, some cut resistant gloves, but they also make an extra wide handle now, okay? To maybe protect that hand from the chain if it gets thrown off. You can see the Kevlar type material in it. Okay? So chain brake, chain catch, spark arrestor, extra wide handle. They also, on some models, most models now, you notice how the cutting portion of the saw is separated from my body on shock absorbers. So they've got anti-vibe in there. Okay. So old junky Walmart model saws aren't going to be built that way. If you run them all day like these people are doing out here, they're going to go home with their hands tingling, and long term could have some carpal tunnel issues. Some of the larger saws will have decompression to make it safer. You don't pull your shoulder out to start. Okay. So chain brake, chain catch, spark arrestor, extra wide handle, easy to reach on and off switch in an emergency. And the last thing is this. Anybody know what this is called? The interlock, right. So it's a throttle interlock. So you cannot engage the gas pedal without your hand in the driver's seat. If you come up on a job and this is duct taped down, because what happens if it's running and I forgot to put the chain brake on and I set it down and a stick goes in there? It's really funny to watch a grown man screaming as he's being chased by his own chainsaw. Okay, so those are the main safety features. They should all be in working order, and that's the kind of thing we can watch a guy running his saw from 20 feet away, and I go, I need to go look at that. I can tell something's not right. They've also designed the saw ergonomically. If you'll notice how the body's here and the handle's here, it actually fits in tight to my body. So I can hold this saw all day like this, but I could probably only hold it about 2 minutes out here. So it's designed to keep it in tight. So when I'm making different cuts, I never have to let go of the saw. I can brace it in tight to my body. Ergonomic. Also, there's no such thing as a left-handed or a right-handed saw. Okay? And Norm, are you left or right-handed? Lefty. He's a lefty, but so what? All they did is the saw has the upper handle is designed for your left hand to go here. The rear handle is designed for your right hand to go here. If I hold the saw like this and I have kickback, kickback goes this way. If I hold the saw like this and I have kickback, where's kickback now? So you'll see people out there, there'll be times because of you're on the edge of a drop off or something, you may have to switch hands, but 99.9% of the time you need to be cutting in this position. Does that make sense? So just the fact that we switch my hands, I've now made the tool more dangerous. Remember how I talked about if you file the depth gauge down too far, you make it more dangerous? Same thing by holding it. Okay? The other thing, what kind of notch did we want to see? How many degrees did we talk about inside?
70 to 90.
What is really cool, for those of you that are right in front of me there, they've designed the saw that if I put my hand in the corner, you see that angle?
Wow.
Remember that angle. Remember that angle. Because I make my top cut first. Then I roll the saw to the bottom corner. Do you remember this angle? Plus this angle gives you what? 70 to 90 degrees. They've designed the saw to make that cut, but what are all the people out in the field doing? They're still making the 45. Does anyone know where the 45 degree notch came from?
Crosscut saw?
Correct. Crosscut saw is designed to cut wood fiber or how? Across the grain or flat. And then what did they use? Granddad, what do you have? It's probably still hanging in the carport. You had an axe. How does an axe cut wood? On the 45. Crosscut flat, axe 45, guess what? So now we have a tool that will carve a beautiful angel out of ice. You can make a bear out of a log. It'll cut upside down, straight up like that. You can even run the bar through water and it'll run. And what do? We still make the same cut our forefathers did 500 years ago. Even though they spent millions of dollars to design the saw to make the proper notch every time. Any questions on chainsaw?
You know, I don't want to get a deep argument, but a chain will typically cut more efficiently 90 degrees to the grain.
Yes, it will.
You know, unless you get a ripping chain.
Yeah, but normally when you're cutting wood, the most we're going to do is 45 anyway, right? Yeah, it really, I hate to use this word, but it does suck trying to rip wood with the grain. But it'll cut just about, it will rip with this chain on it. So, good question, good point. Thank you.
So when you come up on somebody doing a 45-degree cut, you just, I really recommend you widen the cut, or did you?
And they're probably going to go, do what? What did I show you was bad?
Go beyond.
Do bypass. If you can just coach them into making a 45 without bypass, you're halfway there, and them leaving that hinge, right? The big thing that you can stress on, if we're felling the tree this way, we need to have an escape route, 45 degrees, and it needs to be a clear escape route, and I would say at a minimum so they can get at least 10 feet away. I know most of you aren't going to be logging, but if you remember one thing from me, it's 5, 15, 90. What did I just say?
5, 15, 90.
Okay, what that means is 90% of all the tree cutting fatalities, 90% happen within the first 15 seconds of the tree starting to fall. And where do you think they find the body? Within 5 feet of the stump. And you'll see out there guys are cutting trees down, and they're cutting and they're cutting, and the tree's falling, and they're still cutting and cutting and cutting. I mean, the tree's at 45 degrees and they're still there. So they've eaten up half of their 15 seconds. So now they've got 7 or 6 seconds, because if it hits and bounces, something above breaks, they're right in the kill zone. The kill zone's within 5 feet. Just a simple fact of once it starts to fall, if I left hinge, no bypass, if I get out 10 feet or more, my chances of living go way up. There was a fatality in a park, June 6th. Anybody hear about it? Cutter drops a tree on the helper. Killed him. There was a fatality, not a fatality, it was an injury in Tucker, Georgia, where me and Jerry are from, about 3 weeks ago. They put a rope in it, they pulled on the tree before the cutter even started cutting. They made a branch come loose. He cut his notch, did his back cut. Where do you think he was? Less than 5 feet, branch broke out, hit him, broke teeth, broke jaw, fractured his skull. His heart went into irregular rhythm from the blow, messed up his brain. He's out of the hospital, got out of the hospital on Saturday. So. But if he had been 6 feet, 10 feet, wouldn't have happened. These are really tall guy chaps, but you'll notice they have full lower wraparound. If you come out on the job and you see guys with the Betty Crocker apron style, where they stop at about the knee, you really want chaps that come to the top of the boot. And I've seen them out there. And any chaps that obviously have been used, meaning they've cut into them and they're ripped, they need to be replaced. They shouldn't be cutting with. And those are the two things I found out there. Was old, already pre-tested, we'll say, pre-tested chaps, and too short of a chap. So, obviously, I need a face shield, which I don't have. But, any questions on chainsaw?
Well, with respect to falling the tree, I have a question. I'm asking this for a very specific reason. When would I ever have a piece of equipment helping me cut a tree? Never, ever. So if I see somebody out there cutting a tree and they've got their little bobcat hung up in the tree and helping, something's wrong with that picture. Okay.
Very wrong with that picture. Because the same process, what is he doing? He's creating mechanical advantage to heave the tree. We create a hole, we make a hinge, and we heave, right? What's wrong with me throwing my dainty little cute little throw line, rigging my rope 100 feet out and 3 guys pulling on it, as opposed to bringing a skid steer or something in here and pushing? Yeah. So setting a rope and pulling it, some companies, not out here, but some large tree companies in our nation, it's company policy that all trees being felled must have a rope in it. It's so easy to set a line. You saw how easy it was. You can take a tree, that tree's leaning toward the blue car, isn't it? But now that we can put a rope in it, Norm and I can make that tree land over here now, because we can overcome back lean, because we have all that advantage of height and leverage. You put a skid steer down here. I've got video, I don't know if you saw video, but we caught a crew using a skidder. They no longer are on this project, so thank you, you're welcome. Really lousy cutting. They didn't factor in lean or height. The tree sat down. It was getting ready to fall backwards. They decided, okay, let's bring that great big old skidder in, and they pushed it forward with the skidder. Problem is, his cut was so bad, if he'd broken it off the hinge, it was going to fall and land on the skidder and the power line, creating what kind of disaster, who knows what. You know, those 3-hour orientation meetings we do, you can't catch everything. And Granddaddy used to say you can't fix stupid, right? You can fix ignorance. Stupidity, he's got no solution for. So our goal is to help find ignorance and correct it, find poor behavior. So we appreciate your time and energy. And Jerry only gave me 2 hours, and I've got exactly 30 seconds left. Are there any questions?